Good afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year from the Hageman Memorial Library. My name is Cynthia. I'm the Community Services Librarian, and I'm bringing you some new titles that we have available this January uh, that you can borrow at the library. So, without further ado, we're going to take a look at some new fiction that you can come in and borrow. You can also go to our website, www.hagemanlibrary.org, and click on catalog, and you can also put reserves on the books there, or you can call us at 203-468-3890, and we can put them on reserve for you. So without further ado, we'll take a look at some new titles. Okay, so new and featured fiction for January 2024 at Hageman Library. So the first title is called The Lucky Shamrock by Carolyn Brown. So this title is available in our large print collection. And here's the description. Family doesn't mean everyone has to like each other. That's the case when cousins Taryn, Anna Rose, and Georgia return to Shamrock, Texas to help manage their grandmother's flower shop, the Lucky Shamrock. The reunion isn't exactly a beautiful arrangement, considering they're as compatible as ranchers and coyotes. Thank heaven for a handsome go-between like Clinton, who lives atop the shop. The easygoing war vet and most eligible bachelor in Wheeler County is now throwing romance into the mix and setting the local women to gossiping. But as the hot months wear on, hidden secrets begin to surface for the temperamental Irish trio. It's bringing them closer than they ever thought possible. With a flurry of weddings, a love story in the making, a surprise baby, and crazy good fortune, maybe that shamrock painted on the window does bring luck. Because for Taryn, Anna Rose, and Georgia, this could be the summer that'll change their lives forever. It's called The Lucky Shamrock by Carolyn Brown. And the next book is also available in our large print collection, and it is called My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. Allison has never been a fan of Christmas, but with it right around the corner and her husband busily decorating their cozy Vermont home, she has no choice but to face it. And then she gets the call. Mavis, Allison's estranged mother, has been diagnosed with cancer and has only weeks to live. She wants to spend her remaining days with her daughter, son in law, and two granddaughters. But Allison grew up with her mother's alcoholism and violent abuse and is reluctant to unearth these traumatic memories. Still, she eventually agrees to take in Mavis, hoping that she and her mother could finally heal and have the relationship she's always dreamed of. But when mysterious and otherworldly things start happening upon Mavis's arrival, Allison begins to suspect that her mother is not quite who she seems. And as the holiday festivities turn into a nightmare, she must confront just how far she's willing to go to protect her family. That's called My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. And the next book is also available in our large print collection, and that is called California Golden by Melanie Benjamin. Southern California, 1960s. Endless sunny days surfing in Malibu, followed by glittering neon lights at Whiskey A Go Go. In an era when women are expected to be housewives, Carol Donnelly breaks the mold as a legendary female surfer, struggling to compete in a male dominated sport, and her daughters, Mindy and Ginger, bear the weight of Carol's unconventional lifestyle. The Donnelly sisters grow up enduring their mother's absence, physically, when she's at the beach, and emotionally, the rare times she's at home, to escape questions about Carol's whereabouts and to chase her elusive affection. They cut school to spend their days in the surf. From her first time on a board, Mindy is a natural, but Ginger, 2 years younger, feels out of place in the water. As they grow up and their lives diverge, Mindy and Ginger's relationship ebbs and flows. Mindy finds herself swept up in celebrity, complete with beachside love affairs, parties at the Playboy Club, and a USO tour in Vietnam. Meanwhile, Ginger, desperate for a community of her own, is tugged into the dangerous counterculture of drugs and cults. But through it all, their sense of duty to each other survives, as the girls are forever connected by the emotional damage they carry from their unorthodox childhood. A gripping emotional story set at a time when mothers were expected to be Donna Reed, not Gidget. California Golden is an unforgettable novel about three women living in a society that was shifting. And that is called California Golden by Melanie Benjamin. And the next title that's also available in our large print collection is called Absolution by Alice McDermott. American women, American wives, have been mostly minor characters in the literature of the Vietnam War, but in Absolution they take center stage. Tricia is a shy newlywed, married to a rising attorney on loan to Navy intelligence. Charlene is a practiced corporate spouse and mother of three, a beauty and a bully. In Saigon in 1963, the two women form a wary alliance as they balance the era's mandate to be helpmeets to their ambitious husbands with their own in, inchoate impulse to do good for the people of Vietnam. 60 years later, Charlene's daughter, spurred by an encounter with an aging Vietnam vet, reaches out to Tricia. Together, they look back at their time in Saigon, taking wry account of that pivotal year and of Charlene's altruistic machinations, and discovering how their own lives as women on the periphery of politics, of history, of war, of their husbands' convictions, have been shaped and burdened by the same sort of unintended consequences that followed America's tragic interference in Southeast Asia. A virtuistic new novel from Alice McDermott, one of the most observant, most affecting writers about folly and grace, obligation, sacrifice, and finally the quest for absolution in a broken world. That's called Absolution by Alice McDermott. The next book, which is also available in our large print collection, is called Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips. In 1874, in the wake of the war, erasure, trauma, and namelessness haunt civilians and veterans, renegades and wanderers, freedmen and runaways. 12-year-old Connolly, the adult in her family for as long as she can remember, finds herself on a buckboard journey with her mother, Eliza, who hasn't spoken in more than a year. They arrive at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia. Delivered to the hospital's entrance by a war veteran who has forced himself into their world. There, far from family, a beloved neighbor, and the mountain home they knew, they try to reclaim their lives. The omnipresent vagaries of war and race rise to the surface as we learn their story, their flight to the highest mountain ridges of Western Virginia, the disappearance of Connolly's father, who left for the war and never returned. Meanwhile, in the asylum, they begin to find a new path. Connolly pretends to be her mother's maid. Eliza responds slowly to treatment. They get swept up in the life of the facility. A mysterious man they call the Night Watch, the orphan child called Weed, the fearsome woman who runs the kitchen, the remarkable doctor at the head of the institution. Epic, enthralling, and meticulously crafted, Night Watch is a stunning chronicle of surviving war and its aftermath. That's called Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips. And the next book, which is also available in our large print collection, is called Sisters Under the Rising Sun by Heather Morris. In the midst of World War II, an English musician, Nora Chambers, places her 8-year-old daughter Sally on a ship leaving Singapore, desperate to keep her safe from the Japanese army as they move down through the Pacific. Nora remains Nora remains to care for her husband and elderly parents, knowing she may never see her child again. Sister Nesta James, a Welsh Australian nurse, has enlisted to tend to Allied troops. But as Singapore falls to the Japanese, she joins the terrified cargo of people, including the heartbroken Nora, crammed aboard the Viner Brook merchant ship. Only 2 days later, they are bombarded from the air off the coast of Indonesia, and in a matter of hours, the Viner Brook lies broken on the seabed. After surviving a brutal 24 hours on the sea, Nesta and Nora reach the beaches of a remote island, only to be captured by the Japanese and held in one of their notorious POW camps. The camps are places of starvation and brutality, where disease runs rampant. Sisters in arms, Nora and Nesta fight side by side every day, helping whoever they can and discovering in themselves and each other extraordinary reserves of courage, resourcefulness, and determination. That's called Sisters Under the Rising Sun, and that's by Heather Morris. And that concludes our book talk for today. So thank you very much for tuning in, and please consider following us on social media in the new year for more recommendations and Hageman Library goodness. Our handles, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter /X, are at Hageman Library. Instagram and Threads is at Hageman_East Haven. And to check out any of our new and featured fiction, please visit us either in person or online at www.hagemanlibrary.org. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you next month with our with our new fiction for February. So have a great month and Happy New Year.